Gente, vamos começar.
É a primeira chamada. É a segunda chamada. Espera mais que quantas cabeças? Talvez mais uma. Nossa! Tchau, Ele se cuida, Maria. Welcome. Very special day today. It's the starting day for our new home. I'd like to appreciate all the work that everybody contributed here. It was a lot of work, lots of work. And I'm very, I don't like to use the word proud, but I'm proud of you because you made this happen. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm glad to have so many people engaged to the future of FSS in Calgary. So we will start with our prayer and we can discuss it. Dear Lord, eternal Father, we appreciate the opportunity of being here today. Starting this new place with fresh minds, with fresh souls. The will of meeting you, the will learning about love, understanding love. And start all of us new page of this spiritual society. Dear Lord, I kindly ask you your protection. I kindly ask you to entrust us all the love displaced to console, to welcome, and to help everybody who is looking for answers, which Christianism and Spiritism are able to answer. Dear Lord, let us have a nice meeting today, lighted and bright, for the future of our own beings. So, I'm sure my welcome everybody. I hope most of you are having an amazing Sunday so far.
Far so good.
It has been a great Sunday for me so far. A long Sunday, but it has been a great Sunday. I'm gonna tell you, I love to be here with you today. And we will talk about love. Welcome. We will talk about love today. About love and what Jesus says about love. What is love? Do we all know what is love? It's a virtue, it's a love, it's a feeling. What is love? Our objective today is just that deep meaning of Jesus' explanation about God's law and the commandment to love. So, first doctrinal reflection, I would like to bring some questions for us to reflect during our meeting. Do you see Jesus as the master of love? How do you understand the commandment? Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. How do you understand this? Have you ever stopped to think about it? Other than the meetings about the presence of God in our lives? As we talk about this a lot, this passage a lot on Mondays. But do we truly understand what this means? Do you love yourself? What is self-love? Those are deep questions that are not easy to answer. But based on some mentors of Spiritism, we gladly have some good reflections about it. And one of them we will be talking a lot today is Joanna de Angelis. So, Matthew chapter 22. One of them, an expert in the law, tested him with this question. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, love your Lord, love the God, your Lord, or love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. So the first reflection I would like to bring now reading this passage is, what is a commandment? Sounds a little odd, right? Even when we say in Portuguese, there is a very bad connotation, mandamento, because it sounds like forcing someone to do so. But truly, the word in the Hebrew that Jesus taught us truly translate not to commandment, but would better fit exercise, practice. Let's try to change the words here. Teacher, what is the greatest exercise in the law or of the law? Jesus replied, love your Lord, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest exercise. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two exercises. How does it sound now? Different? Not so mandatory? Why this is not truly mandatory? You guys are supposed to join me. And they can join as well. What do you think?
Because we have free will. This is something that we have to put ourselves. It's a challenge. It's more like a challenge with exercises.
Exactly. It's the free will. I can choose to love or not to love.
But if we read that as a commandment as well, we choose to follow it, to obey the commandment, or not.
Yeah, because we understand better this way. But what about the religions that preach fear God, that doesn't think like you are thinking right now, because you think in a way of free will. But many beliefs and Christian beliefs just say you have to do it because it's written there.
That's what happened with Moses, right?
That's what happened with Moses
The Ten
and
Commandments.
the 10 Commandments. Why, well, even Jesus, but why we mixed it up and messed it up so much with their teachings.
But here, like, notice that it's not Jesus breaking the word commandment. It's the those who want to know also what is the greatest commandment, because they're used to have those 10 commandments and to follow as like strictly.
Even during basically when Moses brought it, it was supposed to be exercised. Something that you should or should not do, right? So I can still do it. But if I do it, some may preach that you're gonna burn in hell for eternity. How about it? How does it feel like? Well, I don't want to burn in hell for the rest of my eternity, so I want to do it. But I don't truly understand why I am not supposed to do it. And this is applied exactly the same here. Love Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. What does it mean? Do you truly think that the priest spirit will just say words, vain words, like, okay, you pick it heart, soul, and mind? By chance? By nothing? What those words mean for us? Many of you can help now, I'm pretty sure. What heart means? What heart means? Don't be feeling, right? To feel the Lord. What soul means? To live the Lord. And what mind means? Understand. And then we come to the triangle that reminds us to truly love, we have to understand, we have to feel, understanding and feeling the consequences going to be living long. But today we won't be truly focused in this part because we talked a lot about this, and I know many of you are, I won't say bored, but no better than I this understanding of this. And this is important to understand. But we will focus on the second part. Love your neighbor as yourself. Do you guys remember the question I gave you the slide? Do you love yourself? What is self-love? Well, let's see what Shona says about it. Love cannot be imposed, but developed, trained, when it does not rise spontaneously. Why doesn't it rise spontaneously? In some people it's just natural. What is the difference of like some people were created more evolved, maybe? Huh?
All created equal.
All were created equal. How? Simple and ignorant. Perfect. But why some people do it spontaneously? Since they're kids. And some people have a hard time to show and demonstrate love, or at least affection, or some other virtues. Why is, for some people it's so easy and for other people it's so hard? Spiritism explains.
We have already passed through this and already developed this virtue.
Exactly.
And also because you practice more virtuous faith. the others.
Basically, if someone shows since as a kid, means nobody really taught or didn't have a chance to practice this life yet. But we need to live many other lives. And all our luggage from the other lives come with us. So we show it, we practice it, because those are virtues. And virtues are really well shown in our actions. It's not something that we forget, right? We can't forget about what I was in the last life, but I don't forget my virtues, because this is something that is in deep of my soul, of my being, of my essential being. This is something that the essential being, or the moral spirit, whatever, has developed, has achieved, and nobody can take it up. Actually, it's our main goal, right? What's our main goal? What is our main goal?
Be happy.
Be happy. And where is that? You remember the question?
Number? No.
You don't remember the question. I'm pretty sure that Luis remembers.
675.
No,
615.
115.
Oh.
Same that you guys just said, that we are created simple and hierarchy.
Okay.
But we keep in the first piece, and we always forget the rest, which so our root question in the spirit school. It's a very, very important question. That's why we learn by heart, because we repeat it so many times. There is no way that I will forget the number, but it's an important question. And so important that brings us what is our mission. To be happy. But how can we be happy?
Living the laws. Living the laws of God, understanding the laws of God, applying that to our lives.
Divine laws.
Yeah, the divine laws.
You guys remember what is written in the question?
No,
No?
not by heart.
We all have a mission to evolve,
Yes.
gradually getting closer to the Father. That's as closer we get, we will be more plain of life, or if you're ready. So this is an important thing. So some people has it more naturally, but doesn't mean that they are special or they are preferred by God, just because they have already gone through some stuff. Yes, some other people has other skills. Some people have natural skills to love. Let's see how she concludes this reflection. The synthesis proposed by Jesus about love is one of the most beautiful psychotherapies known. Love God above all things and your neighbor as himself. We will be using the third person in English as a male, just because it's in the translation and it was easier to translate this way, okay? In a harmonious trilogy. So, God, neighbor, yourself, or yourself, neighbor, and God. This is a trilogy here that she means. Well, Given the impossibility of man loving God in its fulfillment, since he has difficulty in conceiving the absolute. Why absolute? Why we have a hard time to conceive or understand the absolute?
What is the absolute?
What is the absolute? Good question. What is the absolute?
Before I see why, what is infinite?
We are relative beings because we're not totally evolved. Who is the only being totally evolved?
So
God. He is absolute. That's why he's even in a category. But we have a hard time to understand him. So, if we have a hard time to understand him, look what she says. He performs the essential reversing of the order of the teaching, loving himself at first, in order to develop the abilities that sleep in latency. So basically, because we have a hard time to understand God, we go and try to develop Jesus' teachings by something that we know, which is us. Does it make sense? I know. Do you know yourself? You know yourself, Bruno? More or less?
or like that.
We should know. Which question is that? 919.
Yeah,
Know
I know the
yourself.
question number one.
919. You should study it a lot.
Yes.
Okay, that's a very important question too. That's a root question of the spirit, which Kardec asks. What is the most facile way to evolve? And the answer is very simple. Know yourself. As an Asian philosopher said, know yourself. And then St. Augustine, in the irony of this question, comes with a beautiful way, a receipt to do it. Describes like no one a good way to understand ourselves. So, with that said, look what Joan is basically saying. She's inviting us to love ourselves first in order to develop the abilities that sleep in us in latency. What does it mean? Where are the laws? In our conscious. So that means in the latency. In us. Why is it in the latency? Because we don't remember them. We don't fulfill them as we would like to, because most of the time we prefer to do something that pleases us and goes against the laws. Supply a lot the ego, but not the self. Whoever was here last weekend, Tanta said the differences between ego and self. We remind that whenever we choose, and the ego is not a bad thing, please. Why is not a bad thing? Because basically ego is ignorance. And as we just reflected that we were all created simple and ignorant, ego is a God's creation. But something that allows us to develop our virtues during this existence, for example, and evolve the self, the moral. So Joanna continues with a unique way, striving by acquiring enlightenment values every moment, growing in the direction of love to neighbor, a natural consequence of self-love, since the other is an extension of himself, to finally love God in an incomparable transcendence in which love predominates in all emotions and is responsible for all acts. This final description that she makes, a natural consequence of self-love, since the other is an extension of himself, to finally love God in an incomparable transcendence in which love predominates in all emotions and is responsible for all acts. Is she describing someone here? She's describing someone. Who is she describing? Who fulfills exactly this piece of text? Jesus. Jesus. And why? Why he fulfills so well all this?
Because he was the one chosen to give us an example.
He knows himself.
He knows himself. Because he's a Christ spirit. He's a pure spirit. He evolved all the levels that we are capable to understand just a little bit. Just a little bit, please. So he himself can love God in an incomparable transcendence because he's shown us the best way to love the neighbor. And finally, he was loving himself as well. He was basically practicing this. Loving from all heart, from all knowledge, and from all soul. He was living love. He was love incarnated. But today, after all this talking, I would love to talk about self-love with you. Why? Why do you think I want to talk about self-love? From the trilogy that she mentioned, right? God, neighbor, ourselves. Why am I picking ourselves?
It's the start point. It's the start point.
That's what Superior Spirit said. So, who am I to say no? Joanna is wrong. So let's understand this. Let's try to exercise a little more in self-love. One very important thing about self-love or exercise self-love. Is that we need to exercise free will. In which manner? Exercise my free will to self-love me in which manner? I choose to love. I don't choose to dislove. I don't choose fake love. I choose love. And to understand in deep love, we really need to understand this triangle. We really need to understand what is love. If you guys all remember, the spirit of truth in the gospel according to Spiritism said, Spiritists love each other. This is the first teaching. And instruct yourselves. This is the second. Well, just to remind, who is the Spirit of Truth? Jesus. Jesus himself is telling us to love ourselves. Within us. And the second is instruct ourselves. So, if I don't understand purely what is love, what is the risk I'm taking? Take the wrong way. Is what we call pseudo love. Sometimes we think we are loving. We say that we are loving, but it is not love. I will give you an example. Our media sells that passion is a synonym of love. Everything related to passion. Then there are so many people killing in the name of love. I love her so much I couldn't let her go. This is love. It's a prison. Now, parents. I love my kids so much that I create prisons to my kids. Why I create prisons to my kids? Are the kids belong? Do the kids belong to us? Do they belong to us?
The most famous excuse is to protect. But that's the excuse again, right? Like we don't want to let them live their lives. And we don't want to let them go.
And then we create a prison for them. In our own conscious. And this is what we call passion. Because we create an attachment so strong to someone that we create a pseudo love, which is not love, but we say it's love. And this is very important to understand self-love. Because what is the totally opposite of love? Hate. We can use a word right now. I created with Renate to say desamar, because there is this word in English, which is dislove. I created a new word. But dislove or hate can lead us, with this love to ourselves, can lead us where? We talked about it.
It's the mouth.
We talked about it 2 weekends ago. Where this love to myself can guide me. Jesus. If I well understand that I am a mortal being, and that the most important, and listen carefully what I'm going to say now, the most important virtue to develop all other virtues is self-love. If I don't have self-love a little bit developed, I can't develop any other virtue. Just because, well, we always say that the virtues are all connected. You can't develop 100% of one and no others are zero. It's impossible. We can evolve a little bit more on this because of the experiences I go through my life, but how can I say this in English? I'm todo virtuoso. There is not just one virtue, but it's all virtues connected. So, the one singular that guides me to go and keep developing the others is self-love. Why?
Because if I don't love myself, I don't deserve any of those.
I don't feel like deserving it. Why do I want to develop any other virtue? Even hate myself. Does it make sense? No?
Makes sense, but not to hate
You're shaking your head. Okay. Yes.
That's a very important point. Many of us don't have an idea about what is hate yourself. So sometimes when you have opportunity to talk to someone that have that feeling, you can have a better understanding. More than that, you can see that that feeling is real. And many other people suffer with it as well. So it's a good understanding to have. Because sometimes we love ourselves and we don't see ourselves as hating ourselves, right? Like we try to protect ourselves, we try to be good to ourselves, but we don't know how to hate. So there are many other people that suffer in these regards. And it's good to understand from their example as well. Because then we can see where everyone started or using that line.
And when we're not going into a self-love direction, what happens with us? Usually we have 3 invitations to do something well, in God's manner. We talk about it a lot. Do you guys remember what are the 3 invitations? The first one is through love. So, comes something like that improve this. You're seeing that this is not the right way. I choose the way I'm doing. Then comes pain. That's the second invitation. That's why so many people say, I found spiritism by pain, and the other I found by love. So there are 2 invitations. Anyway. But there is a third one. Because even many people choosing pain continues in that circle and keeps circling. And then it brings me what? Suffering. And through the suffering, we will be sick and tired at some time. even though sometimes we suffer a lot. There are some people who suffer really a lot and take a long time, maybe many incarnations suffering to them learn that they have to change. That's why, for example, suicidal thinking lesson. The suicidal thinking sometimes carries on for many lives. Same person or same spirit commits suicide in many lives. Our dear Guilherme talked about it on the Memórias do Suicida, Memoir of Suicide. Well, with the suffering, we start seeing light. This light is self-love, that I have to stop suffering. I can't stand anymore this way. I have to change. Starting of the virtue shining in my life. And then I start from scratch to develop what I need to develop. Okay? So, the exercise of self-love comes with Jesus' invitation. Then Jesus said to his disciples, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their crosses and follow me. Wow. What is he talking about? First we were talking about love, and then he's saying that I have to deny myself and then take my cross and follow him. Follow him is fine.
Taking the cross is accepting the mission, accepting your mission.
Yes.
Deny yourself is to kill the old man, as they say.
Who is it's not to kill the ego. We are not supposed to kill the ego. I just said that. The ego is not our enemy. The ego is a tool to develop the self.
Yes.
Without the ego, we are nothing, because the ego is the current state we are. But the current state needs to evolve. So we take the ego, and while using the ego, we develop the self. But just working for the ego, then we are doing a mistake. And working for the ego, there is a word that represents it. That's what we have to fight. And this is the invitation of Jesus. What is this word?
Passion?
Selfishness or egoism. Egoism, because just look for things for the life, the current state of life, the material life, and not thinking that I am a mortal spirit, and I have to think as a mortal spirit, So, I will take my life, my work, my family, all the things I have. I will live for that, or I will use it to develop my being. You see the difference? I am, but I truly am a moral spirit. And this horizontal of being right now and having right now are just tools that I can use to evolve the other. as, for example, the family. We keep saying the family is a challenging thing. Why is it a challenging thing? Are we all evolved spirits? So, are we expecting what? An easy family, a comfortable family? This is egoism, selfishness. This is working for the ego, and not understanding that my family is the chance of me to evolve. Take the family as a grand way God gave me to develop some virtue. Between them, self-love. Love the neighbor as a consequence of self-love. Because if I don't know how to love me, how can I love the neighbor? And if I don't love me and the neighbor, how can I love God? Because both of them are creation of God. What is the major creation of God?
The loss.
The loss. Exactly. It's not us. That's selfish. No, it's me. A lot of people would answer, it's me. No, it's not me, the laws. The laws are there, and even though it never existed, they would be there, always stable and eternal. But the big difference between this is that I can learn from this existence to respect and fulfill the laws. I will do it everything in this existence? Probably not. But I can start. I really can start. And depends all my efforts. If I do more efforts today, I will take more tomorrow. Because the law of God is based on merit. If I have the merit, if I work it hard, all my effort, I got it. And then I bring this reflection. We're almost finishing. I'm pretty sure that they will come soon. Self-love is exercise and actions that are good, beautiful, and that provide good for all. With my self-love, the good and the beautiful will be in my life. Consequence of that, people who surround me, who surround me will have it. Right? People who surround me will have beauty and good. You're welcome. So, people who surround me will have love. Let's go, keep going. Ourselves, other people, nature, finally, to the whole universe in fulfillment of the law of love. From the moment we open ourselves to love, for ourselves, in this way, the whole universe opens up to us. And we can truly exercise our love for God and our neighbor. So, without self-love, it's impossible to truly love God. It's impossible to truly love our neighbor. Because love is contagious. If I really love myself, whoever is on my side will feel love as well. And this is not love like my hair or my car. It's special. Just remind me. Truly love. True love. What is true love? Know what's love, feel what's love, and live as Jesus taught us. Love from all the heart, from all the soul, and from all the mind.
That's a great point, Eric. And the moment we open ourselves to love, like you have in the last sentence, came to my mind something that is straight to that you cannot share what you don't have.
That's that.
So that it brings to yourself the responsibility of loving yourself and then loving neighbor as yourself. So if you're not doing a great job loving yourself, if your neighbor is not getting the full love.
That was a contagious, not that way.
Yeah.
The first quote's perfect. Self-love is exercise and actions that are good, beautiful, and that provide good for all. So it provides good and beauty for me. Consequence of that, all around me. If I am a better being, the world is going to be better. It's a consequence. It's not because I'm selfish or I'm egocentric. It's just because I'm doing my part, and God expects from all of us to do our parts. If we do our part, we finally will achieve happiness. Thank you very much. I finally brought a little diagram here. Last slide.
Okay,
Give me 3 minutes.
okay, let's say 5. So the kids can help clean up and we can do our final prayer there.
That's all right.
Thanks.
Are you guys showing anything?
They made a recipe for friendship pie, and we choose one of the kids to read.
Okay.
Yeah?
So, okay, we'll go through that before our final prayer.
Okay.
Thank you. So this diagram shows virtues. And sorry, I didn't have enough time to translate all of it, and even because it's the way it's written, but most of you, I know that you're a Spanish speaker, right?
Yeah, we are Spanish speakers, so.
So I think the words are kind of close.
Yes, very close.
Thank you.
So, it's our first time to come. So I live in Calgary. He's my cousin. He's come from El Salvador, but he knows more than me about the society. So I'm bringing here to know.
Bienvenidos. Hablamos portuñol. Thank you. So the essential being love, all the rest of the virtues are going to be consequence of that. All the rest, our good feelings are going to be consequence of true love. So our virtue of the month is what? So let's understand love better, guys. This is a very important statement. I remind you, Spirit of Truth. In the Spirit's, the Gospel according to Spiritism said, Spiritists love each other. This is the first teaching. The second, instruct yourselves. So let's understand in deep what is our goals here. Okay? I think, I guess we have a little more time, so we'll. Sorry, you got a little in the middle of the whole thing.
No, yeah, sorry, we can leave, but
That's all right.
this morning I called him.
Yeah, we talked, yeah. I'm glad. Yeah, we talked about it.
Oh, okay.
I'm glad that you guys made it, so it's still perfect.
So, yeah.
We got the best part.
Yeah. Yeah, so you are very hiding, you know. No, it was
It's our first meeting here ever.
first time you moved already, right?
We just
Yeah.
moved from the
I
place in Southeast.
Yeah, I saw this on the website. You moved when recently here. Today's the first time?
Today's the
Oh, I
launch
see.
in the inauguration.
Inauguration, wow, we came for the inauguration.
They're very special.
No, para la inauguración.
Para la inauguración. Muy especial.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So, any questions? You guys can make in Spanish, Portuguese, francês,
Italian.
Italian.
Yo creo que, bueno, primero darle gracias de recibirme.
Gracias por venir.
Realmente, para nosotros, para mí, realmente es hermoso estar en un lugar donde una federación que se habla de espiritismo. Vengo de familia espírita desde los 7 años de edad y estoy aquí porque ando buscando siempre sentirme muy bien interesante. Y dejarle a ella la semilla que realmente ser sensible, porque ella tenía el concepto, como todos los religiosos, que realmente el espiritismo es algo teórico, según lo ven desde el punto de vista religioso, desde el punto de vista que no les conviene la verdadera verdad. Pero cuando ya lo vemos desde el punto de vista, no tiene nada de contradictorio con el libro. Todo esto que está aquí, la autoestima, la solidaridad, la tolerancia, la indulgencia, la tranquilidad, la benevolencia, la paciencia, la alegría, la bondad, la humildad.
Sí. Es el libro de los espíritus que Cristo es nuestro modelo de ejemplo.
Así que me siento en casa.
Gracias. Estamos entre hermanos. Muchas gracias. Muy bueno, tenemos preguntas, questions. We have the kids to show some good work for us.
Oh, I think you need to stand up. Gabriela, we're gonna use your cake as a prop. No.
It's like a pie.
It's our prop. Okay, so what did we do today, guys? We read a story called what, Katarina?
Enemy pie.
Enemy pie. Can you tell everybody? Yeah, Luis.
I don't want a piece of it.
There's a story of a boy who had an enemy who just moved, a guy who just moved in. But one day his father showed him a thing when he had enemies, like it was called enemy pie. So then he started making enemy pie, and while he was making it, his father said, you have to be nice to your enemy for one whole day. So then on the other day, for the kid who was the boy's enemy, they started to play and they had so much fun. And then they came over and then they had macaroni and cheese. Both of the boys liked it. And then the pie came out and he was talking to his dad not to give the pie to the enemy that he had.
Why?
Because he thought that there was like something in it, and then he stopped the people who was gonna the enemy from the guy to eat it and say that it's a bad thing. But then his father started eating it, nothing happened, and then his enemy started eating it and nothing happened, and then they became best friends.
Oh. So then the pie become a friendship pie, right?
Yeah.
Friendship
And
pie.
they worked on their friendship pies, and the other kids wrote recipes. So Gabriel Samuel is going to read his, and Clara Maria, everybody's welcome to read theirs too. Yeah. But you have to read the ingredients.
I will. The ingredients are a dash of helpfulness, a cup of fairness, a pinch of honesty, and a spoonful of caring. Add helpfulness with fairness, mix them together, then put in honesty and blend it. And then put a bit of caring love into it and bake it in the oven for 20 minutes. Or you can add a bit of sugar in it if you want.
No? Nobody yet? No? Everybody's good?
No, I seriously want to read, but I want to go last.
Apparently you are less, because nobody else wants to go. You go.
Behind Friendship pie recipe. Ingredients: a dash of respect, a cup of listener, a pinch of role model, a spoonful of bear. Instructions: love all your enemies by being nice and making them your friends.
Everybody invited to treat friendship pie.
I'm glad my cake is the same.